Property management company is the most important aspect of the deal. You get this right, at least your deal is 80% going to do well. Qualities of an ideal property management company. Good communication. I don't want to overemphasize the importance of communication in property management. One of the reasons why you need to have this is because, one, without good communication, you will not be able to take the right decision. One. Secondly, the business plan or the idea of the business plan will be lost. So when I'm talking about good communication, I'm not just talking about just on the phone and all that. I'm talking about communication from the beginning. We've seen cases whereby we've communicated to the back end office. So for a bigger property, if you're dealing with a property management company, don't forget you have two parties involved. You have the property management company that they call the corporates. They call them the corporate office. Whereas you have the team on ground who are the payroll team. So if there's a disconnect between you, the asset manager, the payroll, and the back-end office, that's the corporate office, then there's a problem. Most times you find yourself having constant conversation with just the corporate office, and you're not having conversation with the back-end office. Some people are against having a conversation on the back-end office, but for me, based on my experience, I always advise that in your meetings, they need to be there. But when you are discussing some very sensitive matter, you cannot ask them to excuse you. So that's what we do. So you want to ensure that the communication is going around those three people. There's an in sync. Everybody is on the same level. Everybody understands the vision. Everybody understands what is going on. At the same time, you don't want to leave one and avoid talking to the other, because if you don't communicate to the team on ground, they would not know why they should even be motivated to do things. Like we just recently communicated to our because we changed our property manager on one of our deals, and we had to tell them the business plan. We had to tell them the goal that we'll be exiting this property in 3 to 4 years. So the plan is for us to increase our net operating income. So what does that mean? How does it translate to the payroll team? They now know that at every point in time, we need to do things that reduce our expenses, put a lot of value on the property. So that is why that communication is important. And besides, they are the ones executing your plan. You cannot have those ones on ground and they don't know what the plan is. You'll just be surprised that the information is lost behind. So you want to be sure that they understand the business plan, they are reminded about it. But when you are talking about very sensitive decision-making conversation, you might need to ask them to excuse you. The reason why you don't want them to be in that place is because they might misinterpret those conversations. So you also want to be very careful on how you involve them in your meetings. And also, the next one is experience. So you want to be sure that your property manager has a bit of an experience. So I'm not looking for 25 years experience, because I've seen people with 40 years experience disappoint me the most. So we are also not looking for someone that has just 1 year experience. We're looking for someone that has a good form of experience and knows the job. So we are looking for that kind of person. With those questions that we've asked, that we just listed out, if you go through those questions, you should be able to sense what kind of experience that they have. You would know if you're asking the right questions. You will know if they even know anything and all that. So the next one is investors' mindset. So you also need to be sure that they have this investors' mindset. Not all of them are conversant with syndication. So let me back up again. Because of what we do, we've interviewed a lot of property management companies, and some of them don't even have an idea of that. You bring in investors to come and purchase a property with you and all that. Some of them don't even know that. All they know is a pauper just comes, picks up a property and they manage. They don't know that there are other back-end investors. So you need to also be sure that they have the investors' mindset. The reason why they need to have it is because once they do, they know that They know the plan that you need to exit, you need to increase your income, you need to increase your expenses. They will be thinking like you. And company structure, bottleneck, and bureaucracy. You also want to find out if there are a lot of bottlenecks. We had this issue with one of our property management company before we fired them. There was a lot of bottlenecks. If we call them to ask them what is our electrical bill for last month, they will refer us to the electrical team, and that would take maybe another 2 days. If you ask them for answers to different aspects, there's a lot of bureaucracies, a lot of bottlenecks. You don't want to have those things on ground. So you need to ask them, how is your company structured? Who is my point of call? When I have issues, who am I calling? When I need my reports, who am I calling? If I need my accounting report, do you have an accountant I can speak with, or are you the one that is going to manage it? So you want to also understand their structure, because that will influence your decision in hiring them. Professionalism, I cannot overemphasize that. Then leadership, of course, you know what that is. The ability for them to influence. So if they are not behaving like leaders, then you should know that, no. Then patient but assertive. So you also need a property management company that is in between, that is both patient and very assertive in decision making. So managing the property manager. So as an asset manager, I know some of us here have not gotten a deal. The point of this call is that one day we'll get a deal, or one day we'll be a GP, or one day, even if we decide not to be a GP, we'll be investing as a limited partner. You also need to know your role, because the role of a property manager and the role of an asset manager are two different roles. So you need to understand what is your role and how can you manage them in executing their tasks. So your role is not the day-to-day tasks. Your role is not to check on the toilet, is not to do the tenants, get new tenants on the property. That is not your role. So your role as an asset manager is to review the weekly and monthly report. The reason why you are reviewing the weekly and monthly reports, because you want to see if there are any discrepancies. You're also trying to compare what exactly your underwriting, your actual versus what you budgeted, or whatever it is that is in your pro forma. You want to be monitoring it like an up. If you decide to do this on a yearly basis, so many things would have gone wrong. So as an asset manager, you need to be reviewing your weekly and your monthly reports. You need to also be conducting weekly calls. So for us, when we pick up a property, depending on the issue on the property, the standard is 6 months, but we have a property that is running 8 months, and we are still doing weekly calls because of the sensitivity of the property. So it's not one size fits all. You also want to do this based on your deal. So if the deal is stable in 6 months and everything is going on well, you might need to reschedule the deal from maybe twice a month or monthly. But if the deal is not stable, even after 6 months, there's nothing that says you must stop at 6 months to stop doing weekly calls. No. So you want to check on that. Then visit the property as needed. That is why you need boots on ground. You also want to have somebody on your team that is very close to the property. All of you cannot be very far from the property, because things might be going wrong and you will not know. We've seen cases whereby they tell us the property is doing well, the property is clean and all that, and we take them on a surprise. We've done that like 4 times. We visited our properties by surprise, and all the 4 times we went, we've been disappointed, all of them. So you also want to have somebody on ground that is doing that. Sometimes you inform them, sometimes you just go there unannounced. I like to go there unannounced so that I see things for what they are, how they behave. The last time I went to one of our properties, I went to the leasing office, and the leasing office was like a marketplace. I said I went to use the restroom. I saw utensils, I saw teacups in the toilet. The toilet was not washed for maybe a month. It was so dirty, and that's the leasing office. What if you have visitors or a prospective tenant and they say they want to use your restroom? If they go there, do you think they want to rent with you? You can't manage where you are staying. How do you want to manage their units? That is just the interpretation of that. So you also need someone on ground that will be doing that on a regular basis, both announced and unannounced. Develop balanced supervisory style and approach. Yes, you also don't want to micromanage them. And at the same time, you also don't want to take your hands off. You want to, at the beginning, it's important that you micromanage them, you put your eye on it. But later, when things are becoming stable, you also don't want to take your hands off. But at the same time, you also want to be in between. You are, if it's like, let's say before I used to call maybe once a week, you might want to reduce that to once every other week, so you're gradually allowing them become responsible, but at the same time, you're still monitoring them. Review KPIs, metrics, and goals. So you want to review these KPIs with them and be sure that it meets your goal. So these are very important things as an asset manager that you should be doing, not for you to be washing toilets. What are the warning signs that shows that it's time for you to change your property manager? When they are consistently not meeting their KPIs, that is one. So what does that mean? They are not meeting their targets, and it's not as if they're putting in a lot of effort. It's not as if it's as a result of the market. It's just as a result of them not doing their job. That's a sign that you might need to let them go, because one of the things you want to do on that property is to increase your income. If they are not on top of that, then you need to let them go. Inexperience, incompetency, and ignorance. So after they've told you all the stories during your interview that they are the best in town and all that, and you get to recruit them, and you find out that they are very, very incompetent and they are inexperienced, that is a sign for you to let them go. The lack of incomplete reporting. Their reporting is always wrong. There's a property manager, not the management company, the manager on ground. She was always giving us wrong reports, very wrong. And as an asset manager, for the fact they're giving me reports, I still go to the software to compare. I also don't want to take everything from them as they say it. I also want to verify. So before the meeting or weekly report, I go to the software, because in the software you can pull reports. I go there and look at all the parameters and come to the meeting. So I'm listening to them, and when they are saying something wrong, I already know, and I start to challenge it. So you also want to do that. You want to go before that meeting, you to do your own work. You don't just want to leave them to just be doing things as they want. So when you see a sign of them continuously giving you wrong reports or incomplete reports, that's a sign that they need to go, because if they're giving you wrong report, then your decision making will be very poor. You want to avoid that. Then lack of owner's mindset. When they are doing like, whether or not I work, you guys are going to pay me my salary, then that's a sign for them to go. When you're unreliable, you can't just trust them to do their job or do the right thing, then you need to let them go. We've changed property management companies recently. We've changed the property management company. We've also changed the payroll team. So there's nothing wrong with you doing it, but as much as possible, if you do your job on earlier on by getting the right property management company at the beginning, then you will limit changing them. But that does not mean that you did not do your job well. Maybe you did everything well, but on the job, these people cannot perform. Then you also need to let them go on time. So to wrap up, property management company is the most important aspect of the deal. You get this right, at least your deal is 80% going to do well, do fine. Because don't forget, they're helping you with your underwriting. They're going to help you with your due diligence. They're also going to help you with the management. If they've gone through all those processes with you, I don't know why your deal should fail. I really don't know why. Thank you all and have a wonderful day.